Okay. What I want you to notice, there's no mouth shapes here. It's just the movement of the head. And it's expressing the movement. And what's really important here is that I'm getting the attitude without the mouth shapes. The mouth shapes, you can put them in as you're animating, but that's, don't worry about that in the beginning because dialogue will become a little bit intimidating for people. And what you want to do is you just want to get that movement. I want to explain to you, you know Sesame Street, Kermit the Frog?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, let me see me. Look, that's all Kermit has. He has an open mouth, shut mouth. He doesn't have any other shapes in the mouth. So if he's going s or you know, M mouth, he doesn't really have that option. All he has is, hello, Tefik, how you doing? You know, that's all he has, but it works. The thing that makes it work isn't just the open mouth, shut mouth, it's the puppeteers that are making Kermit go, you know, he's looking around like this and he goes, hello, Tevik, how you doing? You know, it's the acting in there. And that's what this is before the mouth shapes. Hello. Hello. So then I come in after that, and on the pose test still, I'm just hitting those mouth shapes in the timeline. There's the timeline up here, and you can hear the hello, all the vowels and consonants. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Hello. Hello. And you'll see as I scroll through, there's the he's just coming in, simple mouth shape there. And there's the L's in hello. And I just bring the tongue up there. I just snap from there to there. I just snap that tongue up into there. And then he goes, and when I'm listening to the soundtrack, I'm not listening so much. I know that he says hello, and you would think immediately it would go from the to the O mouth shape. But when I listen to it, there's a little bit of a hello, hello. So there's and I just made up my own sounds up here. It is not phonetically correct, but the sound is, or it is phonetically correct. I'm sorry, it is phonetically correct because it's the sound of the way that the actor had delivered the dialogue. You'll have someone, well, that's me. I think you know that's me going, hello. Okay, but then if you got someone who has an accent, let's say it's an English person, hello, hello, a lot different than hello, a lot different. And so you listen to that English accent, Cockney kind of accent, hello, hello, it's hello. So that's what you want to listen for, is the way it phonetically sounds. So here we got the hello, and then he goes into the O. And what I want you to notice in this pose test, I just went from O, and he hangs on that O a little bit more. The sound of O up here in the timeline. We can see the wave file right there, and it's dissipating right over to here, and then he just comes back into the last pose right there. So let's go over this one more time. He's starting the H sound, and there he's still on the, actually I should have, right there. He's still in the and then he goes to the L's, and And that's just by me listening carefully to that soundtrack. And what happens back in the old days, it's still, I'm sure it still happens today. There's somebody that they're called the sound reader. And what they would do back in the old days is they would listen to the soundtrack on it, what was called a mag tape. And it's just a recording tape. And they'd listen to it and they would break it down on the exposure sheet. Now, we'll get into the exposure sheet later. I don't even know if they're used that much anymore because of the digital age. But they break it down by the way it phonetically sounds, like I did here. On the X sheet, it was, even though he's going into the O, they would say, they would have down here, that sound going down the X sheet. I know that it's a little confusing as I'm talking about the X sheet, but they would break it down phonetically where those sounds would be in there. So you knew when you got the scene, before you did any animation, you listened to the soundtrack over and over and over. And the main thing you want to do is to get that acting of the personality of your cartoon character in there. You want to get that in there. And the mouse shapes, you just put them in later on for now, like I said before. And then, so on the X sheet, it will show that the is holding, these are frames right here. Those are frames, that's supposed to be an R. Those are frames right here. And then on this frame, it goes into O, a lot of O's. O, O, O. And then it will tell you when that sound is over, frame by frame. So as you go through that, you're listening to, let me back up here, dude. I know I go all over the, I mean, the thing that I did on this one is I listened to the phrasing of the dialogue. And this is just one word. But even with the one word, he goes, hello. There's a phrase he goes, hello, hello. It's like music almost. You just listen to the phrasing and you think to yourself, that's why thumbnails are good. You think to yourself, okay, how would I think that this character would deliver the line? Well, this is how I thought the character would deliver the line. He'll come in with the anticipation on he, and then I have him come up on O on that and that sound. And my thought was when I created this test was that he's some guy thinks he's a, you know, Don Juan. He thinks he's like a ladies' man or something. He's hello, like he's really cool or something. And he's saying hello. So that was my take on the way that the character was saying it. So then I put the acting in here, and he's up here, and he's up there, and he's still staying in that pose, looking at the other person, and he comes back down to the very last pose. So now let's go back up here again. And then I just put in the big mouse shapes on those big accents, those big poses as he's going through. And then he just settles back in. And that's all it is. And you do that with all different kinds of mouse shapes, like what I've shown here. Here's a different design of the character, and you're going to have different mouse shapes for different designs. Let's say we had a duck, and on the O sound, that would be the mouse shape for the duck right there. So It just matters what the design is, but it still consists of those basic mouth shapes. And after I get that pose test done, then I just simply come into it and I put in the in-betweens.
Hello.
And even on a really scratchy test like this,
Hello.
you know, we get the feeling of them delivering that line with an attitude.
Hello.
And you know, what I had
Hello.
perceived in my mind's eye, the way that he would say this. Now, there's many ways I want you to understand. If you'd given this to 5 different animators, there would be 5 different pencil tests. There's just many ways that's the art of character animation. It's going to be up to the animator of exactly what they perceive the way the character would deliver that line. Okay, now the important thing also is, so you listen, let's recap a little bit here. It's mainly in, this is a close-up, so it's in the movement of the head that's working with the phrasing of the dialogue, and then we put in those big mouth shapes. Now, when you go in to these mouth shapes, the thing you want to stay away from is what I call mushy mouth. That is, you're putting in these in-betweens in between the consonants and the vowels. Consonants, the mouth is closed. No, k is almost the K, C sounds, whatever those sounds are, they're almost closed. It can be, it just matters. Hold on, dude. Oh. It, you know, it could be, it matters what the sound is, but it will be almost a closed mouth. Maybe the teeth are for the k sound. That could be a C, K, pretty much K, S. It could be an S sound. It doesn't have to be that literal, but what you want to stay away from is the mushy mouth. So notice how when I go from this mouth shape, that mouth shape, I'm just opening the mouth a little bit on the head, but I'm staying true to that sound. So I just make it a little bit bigger. That's it. And then I pop up into that tongue. And what I mean by that, I'm going to come up to where I in-betweened it. When I came up there, I didn't in-between the tongue coming up. I popped into it. I just came up in there. I didn't bring the tongue up like we do in normal movement. You know, we'll do slow in and slow outs. On the mouth shapes, we want to pop in between the vowels and the consonants and the different mouth shapes. We don't want to put in, if you're looking at me, hold on, I gotta see myself here. You don't want to put in all these kind of in-between, where the mouth becomes very slow and in-between. It doesn't look natural. When we talk really quickly. The sounds come out really fast, and we need to pop into those mouth shapes. It's much more convincing. If you look at the first dialogue scenes with Mickey Mouse, you're going to see all this mushy mouth in there because they didn't understand it yet at that point. It was a brand new art form, and they just discovered how to put sound in there. So let's continue on here. So he's got the L. We're in the L, L, and watch when I go into the O. L, L, still the L sound all through here. Notice how I just keep that tongue locked up in there. And this is the where he goes into the la, O. And notice how I went from the tongue at the roof of the mouth, that open, and it just came down, popped right down, just snapped right down into that ah. Still, the ah tongue is down, and then I just go right into from that ah oh. I pop right into that oh, and then the oh, because it's a hello. The mouth shape gets a little bit smaller, but I'm being true to that mouth shape. Even though it's getting a little smaller, I'm still keeping it that O mouth shape all through here. Pops, O, O. Only difference is getting a little bit smaller because that O is dissipating. And then right there, in the very last one, even that one, dude, I'm being true to it right there. And he's still, that sound we can see up in the wave file up here, that sound is still being heard. And now it's dissipating. And I just went from that last ooh, and then I closed the mouth. And then we just got it. And then he just,
hello. Hello. Hello.
and so what happens is we are popping in, very important. You want to pop into those mouth shapes at the, when you make the change in the sounds. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Now, there's, I don't know, have you ever read The Illusion of Life? A little bit. Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
The thing in The Illusion of Life, when I was first learning animation, and they say that you need to hit the sound, the change of shape, those different sounds from a vowel to a consonant, you need to hit them sometimes just one frame ahead of that, 2 frames ahead, and sometimes 3. And they kind of, what they said was, you know, basically it's 2 frames ahead of that change. And when I was learning this, I was like, it really confused me. But I did what they said, and it worked. But then other times it didn't work, and I couldn't understand it. But you know, who was I to argue with Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson? And then I had seen Eric Goldberg. They asked him about dialogue at this lecture he was giving. They asked him about it, and he goes, you know, I hit the dialogue right on the beat. I hit it right on the exposure sheet or on the change of sound right there. If he goes from that to the O, he hits it right on the mark. And I was really confused by this. So what I'm trying to tell you is, for now, just hit it right on the mark. And if you notice, if it looks like it's too early, just move that mouth shape up a frame or 2. I know that's kind of confusing, but for now, just hit it right on the mark. If it's good enough for Goldberg, it's good enough for me. And that's where I hit it 90% of the time. That's where I hit it. On really fast dialogue, the Song of the South, there's a fox, a bear, and a rabbit. And the fox and the bear want to trap the rabbit. And it takes place down south in the United States, in the southern states. And they got accents like this, and they talk to you like this, but they're talking real fast down there. Bear Rabbit, they just talk super fast, except for the bear. The bear's delivery is, I want to just tar and feather this rabbit. Where the rabbit and the fox, they talk, hey, rabbit, I want to get you. And the dialogue was so fast that they had put the mouse shapes on ones because it was so fast. And we'll get into that later. You'll understand. It's just like the standard principle of very fast action. You want to put on ones, and normal to slow, you can put it on twos. When you're doing this, and even if it's fast, when it's going from a to a to a k or when you're making those mouse shapes, you might have to just switch them up real quick, and it works right on the button or right before. Oh, dude, I forgot something very important to tell you.
Okay. Okay.
Don't ever hit the sound afterwards. It's okay to hit it right on the button, right at the mark,
Uh-huh.
or ahead of it. But never do you hit it afterwards, because then it will show up. So if there's a decision to make, always choose to hit the mouse shape before. For instance, I'm going to right here. There's really no sound here. You can't hear the sound, but it is starting there. And I decided, you know what? I'm just going to start this head. I'm going to start that mouse shape a little bit before, because I know it will work. Don't ask me why. I don't know scientifically why it works, but I know it will work. So always hit it either right on the mark or ahead of it. Never after. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So that's what we do. We go in there, and we're just going to, and that is because this is the pose test that we're looking at. So I'm allowed to hit it right before, and then when I go in to put in all the in-betweens, I hit it right before, and it works. And it works. Okay. I wish I could. I don't know how to turn the sound down on Rough Animator. Do you know a way?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to talk loud here, as I usually do. But I want you to notice right here. All it is, same mouse shape and the rule,
Mm-hmm.
just getting smaller. Just going, it's getting smaller as the sound dissipates. I keep the same mouse shape. There. And then I pop into it. That is the in-between that we're looking at. And same mouse shape. And then I just pop into it. Remember, this is all in between, but I still pop into it. And then I keep it. And then when that sound's gone, I just go into a closed mouth. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Have you got any questions for me, dude? Probably not.
No. No.